Good afternoon and welcome to StandPoint. I am Veronica Dan Ikboy. In what can be likened to Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka's Abiku, a poetic rendering of an insistent event that refuses to go away, the calls for restructuring the Nigerian Federation have refused to fizzle out. Though it seems to have quieted down, it might soon gather momentum as the Voice of Reason VOR is set to hold a colloquium with the theme, Restructuring, a panacea for justice and peace of Nigeria, the imperative for a people's constitution. On the show today, we will be focusing on the restructuring debate and what a restructured Nigeria will look like. I have in the studio key members of the Voice of Reason. Prince Goke Omishore is the convener, Voice of Reason. Samuel Akinyele Kolkrick, a retired airline captain and former rector of the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology, Zaria, is also a member of the Voice of Reason, and Otumba Aderemi Abdul, founder of United Technologies Limited and chairman Quality Life Improvement Plan, is also a member of the Voice of Reason. Gentlemen, thank you for coming to the program.
Welcome. Good afternoon.
Well, the calls for restructuring was deafening in 2017. So loud it was that heavyweights like former head of state Ibrahim Babangida and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar lent their voices to the cause. But restructuring means different things to different people. For some, it is a devolution of power, giving more power to states. For others, it is resource control, while there are those who say it is going back to regionalism. Well, before we ask what kind of restructured Nigeria you're looking at, Prince, would like to understand, with the various issues or challenges bedeviling the country, why do you think restructuring is the solution?
Thank you very much. Apparently, after my 60th birthday, I started doing a lot of writing and publications in the papers, I graduated from that 2 years later into Western Canon, my own blog. And from that blog, I received 1 or 2 articles that was really disturbing. It chronicled how very bad the Western region, or what you now call Southwest, has retrogressed. I wasn't pleased with that. I felt there's something wrong here. And exactly what? The system is not working. So I invited a few friends. We share ideas, and we decide to convene.
What system is not working now, if you might be clear for
the constitution on ground? The constitution on ground is not working, and the unitary system of government is not working. So we felt our cardinal struggle in advocacy should be primarily restructuring. Nothing else will do.
And hence the need for restructuring. Well, Otumba, you might want to even throw more light into this while you also buy into this idea.
Well, good afternoon. The way Nigeria is currently constituted, both politically and economically, we have not witnessed any major development as far as the nation is concerned. For example, you want to be able to measure the impact of the economy as well as the political impact on an average person on the street. How good is your life? Compare your life from last year to this year. What is the benefit? What is the impact of government policies as it's presently structured, on the people? So what we are witnessing is a system that is stagnant, that is not working for the benefit of an average Nigerian. We begin to march on the same spot, year in, year out. You could see fanciful building, you could see fanciful roads, you could see fanciful establishment. But the key thing is the human index. How comfortable is an average Nigerian well off? 5 years ago compared to now, what improvements have been brought to the life of average Nigerian? What we are witnessing is that our average lifestyle is consistently being depreciated by the current setup that we have. So we want to be able to look at the structure that will be able to address the gap and the weaknesses in this situation. Those structures will have to be able to capture, okay, we have a central system of government. Are we well off with that central system of government? We have regional government before. Let's look at what we've done before, and let's look at what we're about to do. In the days of Western region, in which when I was a young boy, we knew how we went to school, we knew how the government was run, we knew how the impact of the government as it affects each family in Nigeria. And we could be able to see in quantum value the benefit that people derive from the government. But today, what you see is on daily basis, you have complaints here, you have complaints there. The people are, fed up somehow with the current setup.
All right. So, Samuel, if I may bring you in now, is this really about a system challenge or about the people who are in charge or handling the system?
Thank you so much. It has to be the system, because we've had various people from all aspects of our society running this government. But I think the system is not working. There's no doubt about that. My colleagues just mentioned that we knew what it used to be, and now we know where we are today. Only one thing is changing in Nigeria today, and that is the population is growing at a very fast rate. And we are not developing enough to be able to cater for this population. Now, the key question is, this system, is it squandering our resources, or is it running it efficiently? We all know this is not running efficiently, because we're not creating wealth, whether we like it or not. We only, what we are collecting is just rents from extraction, that is oil. We are not multiplying that wealth, and so the system is not sustainable, particularly at the rate at which we are growing. Because we're not engaging our people meaningfully, most of the time we're just producing babies, and without resources to look after them. We're talking about human beings.
If I understand it correctly, you believe that if we change the system, yes, it will work?
It will work.
All right, go ahead.
I think beyond the system, we must change the Constitution.
Yeah, that is the system.
The Constitution, yeah, it's a little bit more than the system. The system is the form of government that we are running and the way it's been run. But the Constitution is flawed. There is no one who run a good government on this Constitution. It's flawed. It's just not working. If you notice, everything is retrogressing, everything is atrophied in the system.
But we're trying to make certain amendments, some amendments in 2017.
That's too cosmetics. That's too cosmetics. We need serious sitting down to restructure or get a new constitution by the people, not the one thrown to us and the one being enforced by some few people. No, we need the brand new constitution. That's the only thing that could work. If the whole nation is atrophied in growth, in economic, in education, in social and all these kind of things, it would just not work.
So now let's go back to the question of you telling us what kind of a restructured Nigeria are you visualizing or envisaging?
Now, when you look at people around my age, over 60, we grew up with the First Republic system, or form of constitution, where regionalism works, or call it zones these days. It's not a matter of the federating unit, it's a matter of the constitution. If we all agree that each region, each zone, could grow at its own pace, at their own timing, with their own priority and values and culture, I think things will work better in the center. You know, the value of working together as a Nigerian is the population is very healthy. Well, what benefit is a population of 180 million that the expenditure every year, the current expenditure every year is 70%, whereas the remaining 30% cannot even be 30% on capital project. Where will it go? It's a drop of water in the ocean. So the police are underfed, they are underfunded, the education is underfunded, almost everything is underfunded. So we need a structure, a constitution that each region will be able to generate their own fund, pay taxes to the center, and their own priority should be aligned according to their own income.
When you look at the various regions, Otumba, are they viable enough, looking at the way things are, to really handle or take care of their resources as it is right now? Because even some states can't even pay salaries.
Yeah, there's no part of Nigeria that is not viable. What we are saying is people sharing money and then spending the money.
But to feed.
You know, you have to create wealth.
That's right.
Once you create wealth.
How do we go about that?
Okay.
Very good question.
Okay, we have at VOR a section that is called Economic Think Tank and Wealth Creation. I happen to anchor that platform with some of my colleagues. Now, you want to be able to create wealth. We want to ask yourself, as a leader, do we have a national ambition? Has anybody, apart from the first generation Nigerian leaders like Obafemi Awolowo, Zik, Ahmadu Bello, who had, to a large extent, had a national ambition? After them, do we have any leader that has presented a national ambition? I'll give you an example. John F. Kennedy of USA, in the 60s, told Americans that I want to put a man on the moon. That is the national ambition. Everything will gravitate towards that. Every workers, every civil servant will see a vision. They will buy into it. And that's today what we are witnessing. Your GSM, your internet, your Hi-Fi, your AI,
are
product of that national ambition.
Yes.
In Nigeria today, the way we look at it at Economic Think Tank is that let's take a strategic product. Let's take automobile. 90% of our transportation in Nigeria is based on automobile. There's no other means of transportation, which means that that is a key area that the government had to set up a national ambition. We want to make our own trucks. We want to make our own cars in the next, between now and next 15 years. How do you proceed on that? Take, for example, the automobile industry. They are divided into 3 areas. You have the trucks, you have the minibuses, and you have cars. You take the trucks, which are much more simpler to do. And it doesn't change as the car will change in model. A truck will last for a design for about 10 years before it changes. A car is just about every year, every 2 years. So you start with the truck. We have truck assembly plants in Nigeria, about 8 of them, just rusting away. A good leader will set up, okay, there's no importation of trucks into Nigeria. Let's go and wake up all those truck
and create
factories.
Jobs.
Then you create jobs, you create wealth. People that get salary, spend their salary from A to B, you expand. After 5 years, of course, when you are building those trucks, you put in a good policy that, look, people will say, oh, we don't have power, you don't have to wait to have power. The power will come and meet you because
how is that?
You can give concessions to these investors that if you can provide power, I will give you a succum. For the next 5 years, I will give you 25% rebate on your tax income. And you can deliver that power excess to the national grid for other people to use. Now, when the truck factory is set up, in a particular product, a truck will command at least between 500 and 1,000 unit parts to make it a truck. That is 1,000
ancillary
parts. So the truck factory becomes an assembly plant where people will supply different type of products to that assembly plant. So you are creating auxiliary services, factories, tires, bulbs, and that is how to create the wealth. When you finish with that, all the government institutions and agencies will have to buy what is made from that factory. Not only that, you now have to make it a federal government guarantee that those products will be bought on credit. You can take 5 years to pay back. What that is doing is releasing the constraint on the budget of these agencies of the government. That is how to create wealth. In VOR, at VOR, consumer credit is central to economic development. The reason why we have to send our boys abroad, part of the reasons is that there's a consumer, you go to America today, you get a good job. Within 1 month, you can make a mortgage and buy a house. There's nothing like that here. And if we run foul of international agencies like World Bank or whatever, we need to educate them. Here we have close to 200 million people, in which a large percentage are very below the age of 30. You cannot subject us to the same conditions at a WTO as other nations. We have to look after these young people.
All right.
And that's why you have a flood of young Nigerians going to Libya and through the desert, killing themselves. So it's just a question of education that we cannot align ourselves. So we have to move in this direction. First stage, we want to set up our automobile industry. First stage is truck, second stage is minibuses, last stage is car. In a car, for example, you have over 3,000 parts in one car, which means 3,000 suppliers. And when they are coming to Nigeria to build these industries, it's a clandestine thing. You don't call your foreign partner that, I want to set up a policy for automobile. You call Nissan, you call Toyota for, sit down with me. They are your competitors. You have to do it in-house. You have to do it in a clandestine manner. We have banned the importation of trucks. Bring me your drawing. Everything Trafan technology is based on drawing. If you want to build a house, you call an architect to give you a drawing. So when they deliver the drawing, we send the drawing to the relevant ministry agencies to have a look at it. From there, you send it to the universities. From there, you send it to research places for them to produce a model based on what, the concession we have given to you to come and invest in the automobile, the truck industry in Nigeria.
Okay, so you want to say something?
I want to add something. In as far as economics go, he has analyzed that. But the most precious thing to Yoruba land, the most precious thing that we think is education. Education has gone to the dogs in Nigeria, If you are called to employ and you are interviewing, if you interview 500, you could barely get 5 good graduates. Whereas in our own time, and we are much, much older in the First Republic, if when school start older, it's still holding their own till today. So we want a nation whereby education is priority number 1. Because in government, in industry, in our economy, good sound education is key. When that is missing, and what we are saying is, under this system, our education is flawed. It's been neutralized.
Underfunded?
It's been underfunded, What is precious to us most, which we wish, a new generation should be taking care of, is good quality education.
And how do you think that the government can achieve that?
We don't think so. We think
funding.
Once we restructure, we know how to take care of that. We've done it before. We have the best universities that are even attended from overseas. So we cannot just be being control, remote control, and this thing is not working, It's not working. There's no good education anywhere in Nigeria, even from the best of universities.
All right, I was going to come to you, stemming from what Otumba said.
Yes, I would like to add to it, because you asked about wealth creation. How come everywhere is valuable? You create wealth. You see that by extraction, by oil, gold, whatever. That's what is created. And that's nature will have done over 1,000 years of nature's engineering. Or you create wealth through agriculture, animal husbandry. It's still nature's engineering because you're not the one doing anything. You put a seed under the soil, nature will multiply it for you.
Right.
And the greatest one is education.
If you could just hold the thought, we have a caller on the line, Paul from Delta State. Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. What I want to say is that I love what our elders just speak. If really our government truly restructure this country, it will be more better. The previous government did something else. 2014 confab. This present government will take from there. They move this country forward. But they did something for us. We will know better than now. If I wish one of the kids among the elders, I believe through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, for your contribution, even though the line was muddled up. Thank you so much. All right, go ahead with your line of thoughts.
So we're talking about education. The Prince just told us that's what is so dear to us is education. That's another wealth creation. That's human capital development. And we've messed that up completely. Like I said,
the system messed that up.
Yeah, I mean, when I say we, because we're all involved. And you cannot have your best brains outside this country. There's been an exodus since we started this dispensation.
Mass.
We have been exodus of our best brains outside this country. Another one is the capital flight. So both human capital flights and material capital flight out of this country. And they're all outside our financial system. You cannot grow the way it is. So we're telling you that we need to restructure to get everything right. Because the way it is, it's not working. It's like you are beating a bad system. We need a new system, a new constitution. The Prince said, system, and I think that we're talking about the same thing. Yes, we need a new constitution that will guide us. Because right now, the constitution says every Nigerian can go anywhere. The next constitution is going to say the same thing. But how do you take care of these people? So we need to all sit down, work out what you have. Everybody will bring whatever their best to the table. And we rearrange the whole system. And that's why it's asking for a new constitution, because this constitution has failed us.
Beyond constitution, like I will want to emphasize, implementation is another thing. And if the constitution spells out everything, implementing is another. It's very important. And so the structures in place to implement all of this that you were talking about, education, wealth creation, and all of it. I'm sure the VOR has a blueprint of...
I can comment on that.
Yes.
VOR is not a 100 years race. The group are determined to power the renaissance of Yoruba land more than anything else. How do we do this? Even outside politics, even outside election, we'll continue to monitor. In other words, we want to become an advocacy of good government more than anything else, policy structures.
If you're not a political party, how would you want to, ensure that this happens?
That's a good one. Somewhere along the line, there are several other groups that does political activism. We are apolitical. You have the right to play politics. But we are saying there is a vacuum. We need somebody to be monitoring and advising on certain things, even when new government is involved. Not just to restructure. Even when you restructure, the problems are still there.
Of course.
Very much so. Because this thing has gone off, it has gone rotten for too long. It's not a dash race that we intend that it will finish or vanish overnight. So for that, we felt we need a group that will be empowered to be advocating consistently and making sure we are changing things gradually, especially when we had the First Republic to revert to, where everything works. The
Constitution then, are you saying that we should bring about that Constitution?
We should rewrite the Constitution.
Something similar to
Constitution
what we had.
as presently structured, with the removal of what do you call it?
The exclusive list.
Exclusive list. It just cannot make anything work. If you co-op my waterways, you're already hamstringing me. If you are raising cattle in my backyard, that is not to my benefit, you're already hamstringing me. What we expect is a liberal policy enough in the Constitution that will let me determine if I want to do ranching or grazing. But not somebody coming to my backyard to do all that. These are the things that the federal government is doing wrong. If you are trying to set up a colony in my backyard, what you are dictating to me. I'm feeling that Yoruba nation is kind of in bondage. We are saying we are not orphaned. So we stood up and say the few things we'll be making sure it's not going to happen. And we are going to do that legally. We are going to do that with brain power. You know, we are not talking.
Maybe you would like to share with us these few things that you said, like you just mentioned, not going to happen.
Should not happen.
Or should not happen.
If there's a good constitution, it should not happen.
Okay.
That's why we are hammering, you know, restructuring, restructuring, restructuring.
And you're certain that restructuring will deal with all of those things?
With all reasonable men, we should be able to do that.
Because you mentioned implementation. We all know, I mean, rights-thinking people will know that once something is so big, it's very difficult to manage. Okay, the center is too big. The center is too strong. That is why the implementation failed. Because if that had been micromanaged
to the federating unit?
To the federating unit, then you have better efficiency. You see, the real problem is that we are not separating efficiency from equity. What we have today is telling us that, take fuel subsidy for instance. Fuel subsidy, all over the world, there is a tax on fuel. But we can't do that because the majority of our people cannot afford it. All right? But that is because the system is not efficient. If the system is efficient, the poor man has no business with fuel. He will have power. We will ride on a bus that is either electricity driven or diesel. So he has no business with that. So you can even put tax on that. So we're telling you that we have not been able to separate efficiency from equity. And this system is wrong. And that is why we are where we are today.
You want to...
Yeah, more than that, implementation or efficiency or not. The problem with Nigeria is that there's no robust democratic participation by citizens. Usually the politicians are doing their own job to their own benefit.
For their own pockets.
To their own pockets. What we are saying is sometimes citizens should wake up and try doing something, monitoring what is going on, be part of it, because there's what I call criminal negligence on the part of the citizens. Our complacency is criminally bad. It's like it's their business. It's not their business, it's our business.
No, but people have been talking. On social media, a lot of people are voicing their views or anger, whatever.
Let's keep that up.
Yes, we
let's keep that up.
Yeah,
that's the idea. Let's keep that up. It had just started not too long ago. The system has been on for almost, how many years now?
Since
1999. 79. So what are we talking about? Let's keep that up.
66,
that is the idea. I think everybody in Nigeria will want a better Nigeria. We are saying no matter how much you want that, we want a greater Yoruba land.
All right, now let's go on a short break and the discussion continues when we return. Stay with us. Well, some Nigerians are of the school of thought that what Nigerians need is a restructuring of the mind. They argue that the problem is bad leadership and not the structure of a country. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo is of this school of thought. Do you agree, Prince, that we also have to talk about, because before we went on break, you talk about the criminal negligence on the part of Nigerians, and I said that people have been raising their voices. But now there is a school of thought that believes that it is the restructuring of the mind that we need.
I would say the restructuring of the mind is a cultural thing.
Cultural? How do you mean?
How is it cultural? In Nigeria of yesterday, the few things you predict these people will not do, the Yorubas will not do. They will not be caught dead doing it, or the Igbos. But right now, the flaws in the culture of each region has converged at the point of unity. Anything goes in Nigeria. You know, it's not a restructuring of the mind. It's a restructuring of the constitution of the structure. Why? If Lagos has so many local government, and Kano has so many local government, and all of a sudden, Kano alone has more local government than 3-4 states in the West. That will be hampering the structure. Now, what we are saying is, when we regionalize or we get into zones, we now decide how many local government you want, how many provinces you want will be decided in that way according to their income. Why everybody will pay tax to the center? The center should be as light, as uninteresting as anybody can be, Mr. President. But right now, the way things are, it's a winner take all.
They're killing themselves with their...
All right, Altumba, you need to come in now. The restructuring of the mind, you think is not as important?
To a large extent, our attitude to life also needs to be x-rayed and looked at properly. What has caused this problem? That Nigeria moved from being in Nigeria a cultured, well-mannered people to where we are now. What has happened? We have been producing leaders with that vision. We've been producing leaders that are not, their attention are not towards the people that they serve.
How did we get to this point?
Yes, it's the accumulation of all this bad leadership that got us to where we are. You have people who are hypocritical in their approach to governance. They want to benefit themselves first. If your central attention is to benefit your people, and you are selfless in doing that, then of course you've written your name in gold. There are leaders in this country that if you mention their name, it evokes passion. Because during their reign, they sought their people as a center of development, the welfare of their people.
Why is it always about my people and not in the generality of Nigeria?
No, I'm talking about generality of Nigerians.
Okay.
You know, they have a larger vision. For example, you start from small to big. What has happened over the years in Western region, if it could be duplicated across Nigeria? Somebody was leading Western region and said, let me help you develop your people the way I have developed my people. Let me make education accessible to your people. Let me make health accessible to your people. Let me make gainful employment accessible to your people. Let me do integrated rural development for your people. That's somebody that's a large vision. That's somebody with a national ambition. But by and large, he didn't get there. And then we start having all these, leaders coming in, fending for themselves, neglecting the masses of the people, and creating and aggravating the problems year in, year out. You have an army of unemployed Nigerians. 70% of Nigerians are below 30 years old. Where are you going to put them in the next 10 to 15 years without causing a chaos? Now we must begin to plan towards that, both on political restructuring as well as economic restructuring. My area of expertise is on the economic restructuring. That's why I kept emphasizing the fact that we need to look at both sides simultaneously. You restructure politically, you restructure economically. Now, from where I left off before the break, I was saying that when there's no part of Nigeria that's not viable, the problem we have is we extract oil, we get the proceeds of the oil, and we share it. It limits our thinking. When a man has a problem, that problem needs to be solved. When you solve that problem, you move to the next stage. There was a time in this Lagos state that the former president Obasanjo sat on Lagos State's allocation for a while. What happened? The former governor looked inward to be able to sustain his state. Let me tell you, for example, the proximity state to Lagos State, Ogun State. There's a mineral in Ogun State called fluorspar. From fluorspar, you get chlorine. Chlorine is a very, very vital product in water treatment, in medicine, in so many areas. Let's forget about what comes from the center. If I get what comes from the center and I'm not in Ogun State, I'll go after that mineral, take it out from the ground with investors, sell it across the world, export, use locally. So my dependence on the central government begin to reduce by looking inwards. There are so many other things. There's no part of Nigeria that is not viable. That is the mistake that people make. So you create 36 states, all of them are not viable. Are we really questioning ourselves? Are we really looking at what we have? There's no space from Niger State to Kano State to Ogun State to Anambra to Cross River State. There's no place in Nigeria that is not viable.
But the Constitution has limited us.
Exactly. So you have to open it up. You have to say, okay, let's create a competitive environment. Let's see what Ogun State can do, what we can borrow from Osun State, what Osun State can borrow. I mean, a spirit of competitiveness has to be brought into this issue.
This equation.
All right,
Yes.
go ahead, Sami.
Yeah, I'm going back to what former president said. That statement is like, to me, it's unfair on Nigeria.
How do you mean?
Insulting.
Because if you make it difficult for your citizens to have easy access to the basic things of life, they will do whatever it takes to survive. We lack so many social amenities. So what he's talking about, it's like in a society where they had everything, then it will be the mind of the people. I've just told you, for me to survive till tomorrow, I must do everything to survive. So, but if you make access to such things very difficult for the majority of your people, then you're opening up a door for them to do whatever it is. That is why our society is like this. So what he has said, right, is that we need the government, we have to understand, like they have all said, the focus of any government is the people, not the land, is the people. The people, because they are the ones that, the land, to start with, the lands don't vote. It's the people that will vote.
Yeah.
So you need to concentrate on them because they are the ones that have brought you to power, not the land. So that should have been the focus of any leader. Of any leader.
And so are you saying that if that is addressed, the minds of the people will be changed? Oh, that is it,
because they have something to lose, because they have a lot to gain, right? Because the system is working for them. But if the system does not work, they are human beings. They have to survive. They are not machines.
They game the system.
Yes. So that is why you have a lot of people cheating. Look, when capitalism came in during the Industrial Revolution, Adam Smith, the father of modern, said he watched spellbound to see some people were cheating and others did not. Majority did not. So in a system, there will always be bad people, but not when the majority is bad. So we should have, people say that in any interaction, 1%, 5% or so, they said, yes. We readily break the moral code of that society.
Okay.
Right.
All right, we have Damilola on the line. Before we come to you, we have Damilola on the line calling from Lagos. Go ahead with your contribution. Dami, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Dami, go ahead and make your contribution. All right, please, you want to say something?
If we're talking about mind restructuring, as advocated by former President Olusegun Obasanjo, I think mind restructuring should start with the leaders of Nigeria in all categories, especially in government. Listen to this. I came back from the United States of America in 1982. And of course, as an Ife man, I passed through Lagos-Ibadan Road. They have been reconstructing, they have been working on that road for 36 years. Where is their structured mind that has not completed it? Are you trying to tell me it's not the budget? No. If there's no money? No. It's because their mind is selfish. It's not, they are the one who needs to restructure their mind. The populace doesn't need to restructure their mind. The populace follows what the leaders do.
Perhaps that's what he's trying to say.
So let him influence others and let them change their mind. I don't think that's what he's trying to say. He's trying to tell us, just hold on and bear with us. We are not going to bear with you.
No, because he is also an advocate of a new Nigeria. He came up with
a new Nigeria without a new constitution. That's a subterfuge. That's a subterfuge. It doesn't work with me. Let Obasanjo come and say, yes, we have tried this constitution. I've been privileged. He is the most privileged Nigerian, dead or alive. And what did he do about it? Nothing. So enough is enough. We need to restructure this country. What we want to do in VOA as Elders Council is to see that this is done in our lifetime. We are working for the generation. generation yet unborn.
Because we have an election.
No. We will prefer before the election. We are not going to give anybody ultimatum, but we know that we will not stop until it is done.
How far do you intend to go with pushing?
Well,
for
for one, we are starting with a colloquium in a few days' time, June 28. We are staging a colloquium at the NIIA, and invitations are out, and the speakers are out. Yes, there have been so many colloquiums, but then we have to keep talking. The alternative is to go to war. War benefits no one. We believe pen is mightier than sword.
Okay. All right. Now, like I was asking a bit before, I had a discussion. Now, we've been looking at the structure, and one wonders, the states have been collecting allocation, and yet things doesn't seem to be working. Are we fair to the whole structure that we are talking about? Because the states are receiving allocation, so they are supposed to run or work with this allocation that you're receiving. So it's not, is it really about the government not working or the states not making do with what they are receiving? I come to you, Otuma.
Yeah, I'll look at it from two perspectives. You are receiving money on one hand, and you are not commensurately creating and adding to what you are receiving at the center.
You're not multiplying it.
You're not multiplying it. So you will always be in want. The money will never be enough.
How is Lagos State able to do what it's able to do?
Like, Lagos State happens to house almost 50 to 60% of commercial and industrial activities in this country. That alone is enough. Through taxation, through a lot of peripheral.
But the other states could have also become that.
Yes.
If I may come in there, what you are insinuating is that the state governments are not viable, they are not doing well, even after what they collect. We are not restructuring for federal government. We are restructuring for the entire structure, from councillor to the president.
No, in being fair, that's why I asked the question.
It's not fair, really, because they are hamstrung with the law. The few things they cannot do. Do you understand? With the exclusive list,
beyond not being able to possibly make use of the resources in their
So what we are saying is, if we restructure with a new constitution, it will take care from the councillor to the president. And there will be accountability. There's no accountability in Nigeria. You can still brazenly, corruption thrives under this particular system. The way the nation is structured, it will collapse. In fact, they are making it worse the way they are running away with a lot of things and getting away with it.
All right, if you could just hold the thought, please. Yes. We have John calling from New York. Go ahead with your contribution, John. John, are you there?
Oh, my contribution is this. Yeah, my contribution is this. I was in Nigeria last week. In Lagos, if we're talking about restructuring, in Lagos has been devastated from what it used to be under Fashola. I don't know what, Lagos seems not to even have a governor. Every street you go to now in Lagos is all dilapidated. I'm in New York. Every street you go to in New York is well constructed. They are not building anything new. They are refurbishing what they have before. But Lagos is so dirty. You can barely breathe these days. And nobody's talking to the governor. You ask the other time, oh, how is Lagos able to do this? Lagos is not moving forward. That is the first point of call when you get to Nigeria. Lagos is in a big, big funk. Why? Restructuring is not going to work because the governors are answering that.
All right, John, I guess the line went off there, but then your points have been noted. Go ahead, please. You're done with your contribution?
If I may answer, John, I'm a New Yorker, and I've been around New York since 1971. That's some 47 years. There is very healthy participatory democracy. In New York, if a contract is awarded for you to do road crossing, if you did it shabbily, citizens will get you arrested. In Nigeria, we all knew what happened. We know what they do every day. We don't do nothing. So it's not about, Lagos is even trying. I mean, comparably. Well, that's what we are saying. We are not saying Lagos is sadly. No, we are not saying
They
Lagos is the best, but they are trying and they are evolving. They are evolving. There's still a degree of good work being done in Lagos all over the place. Listen to this. This present government of Akinwumi, from my perspective, I got a place in Lekki 25 years ago. For 13 years, they didn't do the road. Then another 4 years, somebody came and appeared to be doing something, they didn't do the road. Then the next government appears to be doing something, they didn't do the road. Now, Akinwumi started in March. It's almost completing the road, dual carriageway, with inner light, good quality drainage, covered. I mean, there's progress. I've been around. There's progress.
All right, go
yes,
ahead.
yes, I was going to say, you said something about resources, they collect money from the center, and they don't use it well. Yes, it's all about resource allocation. I don't know whether you understand what is Pareto efficiency, whereby whatever you have, because no government will ever have enough. It's how you allocate those resources to key areas to create growth. He has mentioned a lot about it. Let's take, for instance, when President Jonathan came to power in a campaign that he did not have shoes, he went to school without shoes. If Jonathan had taken that opportunity, okay, no Nigerian will ever walk without shoes. Brilliant. Today, Nigeria will be the shoemakers of the world. Because it will have allocated resources. Yes.
National ambition.
Yes, national ambition. You will have created, that is exactly what we are saying. So you need a leader that is going to say, look, this is where I'm going to put the money for this economy to grow. So we're saying that, look, let's restructure so that if the center cannot do it, because the center has not been able to do that, but let the zones have ambition. Say, okay, this is where we are going. In the Western region that we're talking...
Remember, ambition comes from a visionary leader.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't have one.
Exactly. We don't,
we have that?
No, we don't have one. We don't have such things.
We don't have one.
So if you go to the regions, there's now better possibilities of having a leader that will say, okay, look, this is what we have. You just mentioned something about Ogun State. This is what we have. There will be a debate, so, okay, look, this is where we are going. The Western region was able to wow the whole world in the 50s.
The whole world.
For the first time, black people governing themselves, although partially, still under the British, were able to come with innovations in governance, almost rivaling what was available in Europe. They came with the first marketing board ever in Africa. There was nothing like that. And what is the marketing board? We were talking about it just before we got here, was just to secure the offtake of produce for the farmers, so that the farmers stay on the farm. At that time, Nigeria was number 1, number 2, number 3 on key products. The moment we dismantled that, see where we are today. We're not even importing those things. So we need to restructure to the point that people will have ambition. Even in the north to me is the most viable part of Nigeria. So if they are afraid, it's because they do not understand where they will be if we restructured.
All right, Otumba, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I was going to continue from where I left off. As far as Lagos State, in congruence to other states, like Ogun State, like Oyo State. For example, Lagos commands a huge source of internal income, generation internal income. Now, I want to be able to say, okay, between Lagos State, Ogun State, and Oyo State, let's have a fast train that will take you from Lagos to Ibadan in 40 minutes. And look at the impact of that across those 3 states. In terms of housing, in terms of agricultural delivery, in terms of export. Because here we are in Lagos State, let's say maximum of 20 million people. That's a mini nation.
All right.
With fall-off effects on these peripheral states. We are not taking advantage of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to be able to live in Ibadan.
I would like to answer the question from New York quickly.
We are running out of time.
Just to add to what he says. You see, Lagos State, right, the population of Lagos State is growing by the minute, okay, unlike other states. And there's no constitution that limits somebody coming from Lagos.
Outside of Lagos?
Yes, into Lagos. But there's a constitution that limits what Lagos makes. Say VAT, for instance. We know that VAT is based on consumption. So if I buy gala, right, I will unwrap it, I will pay VAT. That VAT goes to the center. The center distributes it with it. Now, when I unwrap gala, that's a waste, the paper. That does not take care of how do I manage that paper. That's what that man is talking about. Lagos is so dirty and everything. Yes.
But the state came up with the Cleaner Lagos initiative and all of that, which it is
but the money needed
to
for that thing is taken to Abuja and it's not given back to clear it because it's a byproduct. It's an associated product of VAT, the waste management.
All right, I come back to you, Prince. I asked about a visionary leader and you said we don't have that. Then how can this restructuring work?
That's a very good question. Name one or two in the horizon right now. If there's any one or two, they're too selfish. You see, a nation doesn't grow on, you see, in life, whatever you do, whatever you achieve, is called success. What you do for other people and for people is called legacy. We had that. We don't have it no more.
So now that you're clamoring for this, who is going to champion this? If we don't, how does this happen?
If you give equal opportunity,
they will come up.
A good leader will evolve.
You see,
let's have a look at what happened in the States. How did you come about Barack Obama? Who knew Barack Obama 20 years ago? But the system and the environment allow the involvement of such leaders. Here, there are 1,001 Nigerians that can run this place very well with vision. For example, I've put in 38 years in manufacturing in this country. I was 30 years old when I set up my first assembly plant in Ogun State. We were at that point almost a little bit far away, a bit far from LG. Agreed,
but someone has to, implement these beautiful ideas.
Once you have this dismantling of this center, then you give opportunities equally to everybody. Leaders will evolve, whether they are young or,
there is the not too young to run.
Yes, and the program, yes.
Of course. So
yes, you have people like Showore and the rest of them who had the courage to even stand up. Then people will say, okay, oh, who's this guy? His own contemporary as well are asking questions about him. His elders, people like us, are saying, okay, who is this fellow? Let's listen to what he has to offer.
We're impressed.
The moment we begin to see that the guy has a vision that can take us somewhere, then it begins to command our attention and support. Because with the current situation, everybody is locked jam. You have to have so much money, you have to have so much, belong to somebody's as a godfather before you can even do anything. So the first thing is to dismantle, allow equal opportunity, let everybody stand.
Why I'm asking this is because we have an election ahead of us.
In 2019. Yes.
So what you said, there is you're not giving a time limit. But then somewhere I read where a statement that was made by your organization saying that this has to be done before 2019.
We prefer this should be done before election. Because of the urgency of the election very close, we are now moderating it to say restructuring before election.
There's no ultimatum now.
If I throw the question back at you, who is the visionary leader out here today? Who?
I asked already.
I just answered.
They're not there. Yes.
They're not there. You see, one thing with nature is, if you clamp down something, it doesn't grow. If you cut a tree or a flower at the top, it's atrophied, But when you keep watering it, which the new constitution supposed to do, what we need is new constitution. When we have new constitution, you'll be surprised what it will unbundle. One of the best things to happen to Nigeria and Nigerian generation youths, they don't even know it themselves. The entertainment industry has gone haywire.
Without government
because
support.
there's liberalization of that industry, little government interference. It has gone worldwide. Other things too could be, one or two things could be manufactured or could be produced from Zaria or from Jos.
But there has to be checks and balances. But you need to quickly wrap up because we are running out of time. So I'll quickly get your final words on this matter. Otumba, quickly, please.
Well, I would like to address it from the point of view of the economy. Nigeria currently is ripe for consumer credit in a large form. That will automatically improve manufacturing and agriculture. And manufacturing is the centerpiece of VOR economic strategy.
Okay.
If you don't manufacture, you are absolutely a dependent.
Okay, Samuel.
Yes, I would like to round up by saying we need a system that this new constitution will bring that will emphasize on meritocracy. Because we all know where this one is, where it has led us. And we need to start building, like the Chinese have done, from the local government area, that only the best will go to the next level, you know, until we get the best to the center.
Prince, finally.
If I may just add, I pray in my lifetime education will be the priority of all regions, of all local government, of everywhere. Because if we have good education, we are already seedling a greater future for Nigeria.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
And that's our package on today's edition of StandPoint. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can watch a repeat of this edition tomorrow by 7 a.m. I'm Veronica Danik Boy. Enjoy your weekend.